Hi guys. Hello. All right,
Hey,
let's start this. Hi. How is everybody?
hi.
Wonderful
I
news.
know.
Wonderful week of news, right? All
Wonderful
positives.
couple weeks of amazing game industry revolutionizing
Nothing but
stuff.
positivity.
Only
Um,
positivity.
Only positivity. Not really though. We have a lot of negative stuff to talk about, and unfortunately, we have like two decent things to talk about, but everything else is pretty on the low end of um good positive conversation. um So I figured we could start off with talking about. Well, first of all, hi guys. This is GameYAP, our newest episode. If you want to know what it's about, it's kind of in the name. We yap about games. I'm Betrigan, and I am joined with Cerventes and KirbyParty.
Hello,
Hey,
And yeah,
GameYAP.
so GameYAP, GameYAP. Um, yeah. So I guess the one thing that a lot of people have been waiting for is Grand Theft Auto 6, right? Three generations later. And we finally have it. It is coming. We got our price, $80 and then $100 for the Ultimate Edition. Um, how are we feeling about that price? Because I think we were kind of a little. I feel like it's not as high as I thought it was going to be, or what people thought it was going to be.
I was expecting 100 base, so it's better than I thought,
Hmm.
but still doesn't look great.
I was
It's
also
still gonna be
expecting,
spent, but you know.
Yeah.
I was also expecting upwards of 90, and I feel like now we're setting the bar for our $80 future.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I would not be surprised if people start following suit after or in the next year, really. Um, the Ultimate Edition's only 100, which is pretty standard. That's pretty standard across the board, so that's not
hmm
anything crazy. I know obviously games are getting more expensive, so that's kind of where they're looking to pass these prices on to us.
There's a lot
And
of stuff that's like locked behind the Ultimate Edition though that you would think might not be. Like for example, in the cinematic trailer, you
hmm
see the Vice City outfits, but you
hmm
can't even get those in the base game. You have to have them if you have to have the Ultimate Edition to get them, which I
Interesting.
think is odd. You would think that they would, have in the cinematic trailer like everybody, but I guess from a marketing standpoint, on the other hand, it's just one of those things. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of content in at least a couple of generations that are cut out and put kind of like on DLC or like the Ultimate Edition or whatever. Stuff that should be base game. I don't think GTA doing it is anything crazy. I think we've kind of seen it. It's kind of standard, unfortunately, as it is. You even see like a lot of studios will start, they'll cut out a section of the story or whatever and put it on DLC. That was already made and stuff like that. And it's just to, sell a little bit more and I guess that's why prices are going up, right? Because if we go back to like the Nintendo 64 era stuff like that with inflation, like those games they were pretty up there. I want to say like a 200, 250 to what today's prices would be per game. Um, so obviously we are due for some price raises. Doesn't mean I agree with it. But I think we were kind of even for years, and that's kind of what people are used to. When maybe they should have been higher, but at this on the other end, you have this bigger install base. People are buying more games, they're playing more games also, so that kind of leverages that. Do we need the price increase even with games getting more expensive? Can we like not make $400 million games? Can we make $100 million games and
Right.
they'll still be what just as good?
We're definitely getting to that point where we are going to be pricing people out because $80 is still a lot, and that's going to be a commitment now for people. I mean, obviously, back 20 years ago, maybe little Jimmy's going to get 2 or 3 games on Christmas or on their birthday, and now it's just for one. You're just
Mm-hmm.
going to
I
be
mean,
getting
back
the
in the
one, and
day,
that's going
my
to be
family was the you get one game with Christmas already. So imagine now it'd be like 20 times worse.
Yeah, you get an indie game.
And
I mean, hey,
it's still
sometimes those indie
bootleg.
games,
Yeah, I
sometimes
mean
those
they're
indie
better.
games
Yeah.
carry a lot longer.
No, no, you're not incorrect. There's a lot out there that, yeah, I feel like Assassin's Creed was kind of that way for a while, where it's like, how big is this world? And it felt like for a while everyone was trying to kind of be the biggest map, have the most stuff in the game, and that's not. I mean, it is content, but it's not content. It's not engaging content. I love collecting things, but there's a limit, and I feel like that cutting that out would maybe lower the cost of some of these games, but I don't know.
That's if most of your development time is just filling out a map and just trying
Mhm.
to add trees to a big empty space or add something to do in that big empty space,
Yep.
then I don't know. Is it needed? I don't know. That's up for I guess people to decide and how they decide to do a gameplay loop. With GTA, there's a billion different gameplay loops that
Mhm.
people could be doing.
I
So
I think
sandbox.
my ideal game would be to have a smaller map, but more stuff to interact with or do or whatever. Kind of like the Yakuza series does that really well. You see the same map, but every street has things to do, like multiple things to do on a street, or interact with. And I feel like the opposite of that is where like you get some of these like big city games and you can't go inside like 95% of the buildings, it's just no entrance, nothing to do there. And it looks cool, it looks beautiful, but it's just really the interactivity isn't there for what the size
It's
is.
like fluff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I feel like if they spent less time trying to design these big cities and made it more condensed, but more you can do things, then I think they'd probably be a lot better off. Um, I think we'd probably
With a,
see a lot more hits in different ways.
with a big focus on how much of a sandbox is and creating your own little journey and adventure
Mm-hmm.
and just focusing it to be more objective oriented because not
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants a sandbox. Granted, there's still a sizable amount of people that like the sandbox,
Mm-hmm.
but plenty of people don't want the sandbox. So for someone who doesn't want that sandbox experience, that $80 price tag might not be as appealing as someone who will happily jump in there and just sit in the same empty square for hours on end.
Anyways, speaking of open world sandbox games, uh, we saw the new State of Decay at the Xbox showcase.
Hmm.
And just like Ninja Theory, it is rumored that Undead Labs, the creator of State of Decay, will be being laid off or shut down by Xbox. Um, we saw a lot of rumors throughout the week. We saw, obviously, Arcane, who has been working on Blade. We haven't seen anything besides that teaser trailer years ago. But last we heard it was doing fine. It was scheduled for like next year. So it's weird to hear that they're maybe shutting down. Undead Labs just revealed State of Decay 3. We just had Ninja Theory reveal Senua, and it seems like a lot of the Xbox show case has kind of like they literally just announced these games, and all of a sudden they're being yanked already with the studios too. And
Yeah. It goes back into the discussion that we had previously of was it a last ditch effort to get more funding towards those developers? Question mark.
that was the rumor for Ninja Theory, and it would make sense if if it wasn't just them and they had this idea. It's just crazy to think that you know these are games that they've announced. They kind of showed off, and I know again it may have been for more investors, but unfortunately, it's Xbox was kind of trying to get right back on the right track, and maybe they are with this. Maybe these cuts are necessary for how they're gonna run in the future. I can't see that really because back in 2024 they cut 1,900 people, and now it's rumored that by the time this is published or whatever, it'll probably be news will be out. But they're rumored to have the biggest layoffs of all time, which was 1,900 by them just 2 years ago, and now they're laying off even more than that, just in 2026. Um, how do you bounce back from that? How does that not like? How do you not have? Or how are you so concerned about um sales, with these games? You're worried about Game Pass cannibalizing sales. You're worried about selling these games, and you're giving less options. You're getting rid of all these studios. There's really only going to be a couple left now under your banner after you just went on a buying spree for a decade. You're shutting all of them down. How do you bounce back on this? How do you take what you are getting rid of? What are you losing? obviously less studios to work on these titles that you want out there. Are they just going to go like Halo, Gears, Fable kind of thing, like they almost used to be, or how do they bounce back from this, or what does this look like for their future with the new Xbox coming out and trying to bring that name back early?
Well, they clearly have a lot of faith in Call of Duty because that's supposed to be the big money maker, which
Mm-hmm.
has been underperforming a little bit. So maybe they have a lot of faith in this new iteration that's coming out. Since we're going into no man's land on that, we are also seeing a lot of these studios that are being rumored to be closing down are also being rumored to be buying themselves back.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing that of Double Fine, we're seeing that of a few other studios. So it's all up in the air until we actually get to see something. But
Yeah, we're a couple days out.
realistically, just realistically, like there is no, unless they just have a miracle lined up, there is no real way out of it. We are just seeing that decline. I mean, even the price is going up on the current Xbox Series console, and
Mm-hmm.
then removing the 2 terabyte edition,
Mm-hmm.
which moving into this
Yeah.
digital only potential
Mhm.
future, what that is also going to start limiting people's buying power.
Right.
Because why would I be if I'm playing all these games on my now full hard drive? Why would I buy more games?
Mm-hmm.
So we're entering a really interesting space, and I mean, clearly some financial analysts said, "Hey, let's go for it,"
Mm-hmm.
but it's not looking too great from the offset.
Yeah, I read an article today as well, that was mentioning how like the lifespan and collectability of discs and moving into the digital age, what that means for the collectors who, when games update and change,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen when we no longer have those previous editions available digitally because they can just, they're digital. They're
Yeah,
not, they can be removed from the store at any point. What's going to happen with those? Will it
right.
become lost media?
I think that we kind of knew we were going to all digital moving forward. Obviously streaming's a big thing. Xbox has really pushed that they're kind of going in that direction too. We had the big news that PlayStation will be cutting disc out in 2028, so also just going straight, discless, digital, everything digital. It's a little concerning because like you said, people do collect it. They've had some games recently where they release like a box, but it's just a code for the game inside, which is kind of a little weird, like give something to these collectors. So I'm sure they'll probably still have something like that, in physical stores or whatever to put on your collection. I wouldn't doubt that. Um, but yeah, it's digital games don't go on sale, I mean they do go on sale, but it's not like the same where you can go into like Walmart or Target or, GameStop or whatever and see these games for like half off. You can see that digital, but it's not like when the prices cut down on retail, usually they kind of stay down. You can go buy a game at GameStop now for $20-$30. Look on the PlayStation Network store or Xbox, and they're going to be full price. It's unless it's some summer sale or holiday sale. Those same games that you can go buy right now for half the price are full price digitally, and I don't. How do you? What does that look like? Like a lot of are people just getting priced out of games from now on?
People have already found instances of Sony artificially manipulating prices in the store to try to make it seem like there's a greater deal than you're actually getting.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we're already seeing things like that, and they're going to start dictating, digital only. So is Sony going to be the only place that you can get it, just the first party? Are we no longer going to see third party retailers, your Walmart, your Best Buys, your GameStops actually selling games? Are we going to see more digital storefronts? And if Sony's going to be dictating, or whoever is going to be dictating these things, then we're going to start seeing, like you said, people are they start getting priced out, or even just the capacity for what people can actually afford or use, especially with physical hardware now being on the downswing. It's going to be a very questionable future for how many games somebody will play.
Well, not only that, so like I'm trying to think logically here. If you are pricing people out. People aren't buying as many digital games. Maybe they, you do price them out with the increase in prices, or like, we don't know what the next console prices are going to be. They're probably going to be over $1,000. Um, so you do have a smaller install base there. So with these game prices ballooning,
I'm
we saw
sorry. What was the price of the PS5? I don't have one. And the newest Xbox on
um
release?
$500 on release. I think
Oh,
they
okay.
both were, right?
That sounds about right. It was about 500 on release, and Xboxes. I mean, they have like 10 different Xboxes you can buy
Hmm.
if you can figure out which one's the correct one you're supposed to be buying.
Yeah.
The good one was originally like 500. That already had a price increase. We're getting another price increase. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see more price increases across the board on everything, just because hardware's in such a bad place.
Hmm.
And like Betrigan mentioned, consoles being over $1,000. The early leaks for PS6. I mean, granted, there's no official confirmations, but it's already being projected internally at
Right.
over $1,000.
Hmm.
We are in for a crappy future, or maybe they're going to try to just push everyone to stream games
I
through some platform.
I think that's going to be a big thing. Xbox. We know from their what they've been investing in, they are trying to invest in something to stream games instead of owning them. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that.
Netflix of video games.
Sony does already have that capacity as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, they do. They bought a couple, companies that work on that. Um, I guess my concern is if consoles are over $1,000, if people are getting priced out, games are going up, consoles are going up, technology in general is going up. But if people are getting priced out, what why are we spending $400 million, on these games to develop them now? And is this not like a spiral? If less people are buying the games are still increasing in price or production. How is that not just going to be a loss no matter what? They're going to have to cut down on games, or scale back games. Like I don't see how this is going to be profitable for them. Because yeah, a lot of people are going to be absolutely priced out from this.
And there was some old mentality where even if they were selling something at a loss, they were still maintaining reputation.
Hmm.
So even though this product, sunk them very heavily financially, it still garnered them whatever amount of respect and people's future profits, and that's what they had banked on. But how much of that is still viable today? It's clearly not as much, because
Right.
they're just throwing the full price at us now.
Yeah, they used to take a loss on each console, and it was like one or two games that would turn the profit for them. Um, I don't think that's been the case for a while. I think they're full profit on the console now, or not, full profit, but they are making profit off the consoles.
I mean, yeah, talk about full profit on a console. I mean, look at the price of a new Steam machines and how you're getting exactly what you're paying for in terms of hardware.
Hmm.
So when you're starting to pay that much for that kind of hardware, you should probably start to assess some other avenues. Like, okay, well,
Hmm.
maybe a PC that could last a little bit longer than this console and do more than what this console can do
Hmm.
could be better. Or maybe you look at that and say, like, oh, maybe let's go look at the competition. So there's a lot of adverse effects.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Speaking of the Steam Deck, or not Steam Deck, the Steam Machine. I think I saw a lot of discourse over the price. Being over $1,000. But I don't think people are looking at it quite right. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, this machine, it's not as good as what you can get for those same parts." But the
It's
selling
about the same. It's about the same.
it
A lot of
it
people have
is, but
taken it, and
the selling point is that it's very portable. Like we saw with like the GameCube, like that is the selling point. You're not taking your whole rig, everything. The
you
selling
get a
point is the
compact little
portability.
box.
Yeah. Um.
Huh. Kind of like a Switch
Yes.
A Switch,
Yes.
in a way, in its own way.
Right. Right.
which they do already have their own Switch,
Yeah.
so it's just more icing on the cake. They're just them trying to
I love my Steam Deck so
corner.
much.
They're cornering what little is left of that market. But again, it's just they're already throwing the full price at you, because this is what an entry level that kind of a PC would cost, and these aren't even that powerful.
I I have a what if question for you guys. Um, so PlayStation is cutting out discs. They said by 2028, right? They've already moved employees on to other, avenues. There is a rumor that's been a rumor for a while that the next PlayStation is going to be more like a Switch. So my what if scenario is, what if they are cutting out discs because they are not going to be using discs, but instead something like a cartridge?
I feel like that's a
We're
nah.
devolving to the N64 days.
I mean, that's
That would
what
be
Nintendo
great.
did.
That would be amazing. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly. Weren't there the original patents for one of the PS4 or PS5s? Didn't it include
A screen.
a screen? It
Yeah,
did
that
include a
it ended up
screen.
becoming like the touchpad or something. But yeah, it was a screen at one point.
So it's not out of a realm of possibility for them to have taken that back into the lab
No,
and
absolutely.
What do you
kept
mean by that?
reworking.
The,
The original patents for it was PS4 or PS5. I don't remember which one. It
right,
was
the little
forever ago.
screen in the middle on the controller itself, it would have a screen.
Yeah, the touchpad on the controller.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
Yeah,
supposed
but
to be a screen?
it was supposed to be a
it would have
screen.
it would have been more similar to a Switch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Um, but heavy rumors are that the PlayStation 6 is going to be very much like a Switch, or they're going to have something. They're definitely working on something like it. So if it's not the PlayStation 6, it's something else that, a new handheld or whatever.
PSP Gen 2?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Um, so
I was always jealous
obviously,
of people that had a PSP. Just a little side note there. I thought it was really cool.
yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Everyone I knew that owned one, it was just a very, very expensive MP3 player.
Everyone
And
that I knew that had one had Need for Speed, and I loved that game. So I was.
um, we kind of saw they had the PlayStation Portal too. That was kind of not really, but it was kind of like in that same line of technology. So I could absolutely see them trying to like literally just almost copying the Switch, something that's both a home console and portable. It seems kind of like that's where most people are kind of sitting. The Switch 1 and Switch 2 both sold a shit ton. So maybe they are also looking at, they're obviously noticing the competition. So maybe that is their their future, and maybe I doubt it. I really do doubt it because I do feel like they're going full digital, but maybe there is a cartridge or something that they've worked on instead, and that is like the other end of the shoe or whatever.
Much more cheaper is it to build out a cartridge than it is to build out a disc. And even still, with the discs,
Yeah,
they were still downloading anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
that does unfortunately support a digital only future. The fact that you were already downloading stuff to begin with.
yeah, yeah. For sure.
But I mean, it doesn't support why we would do things like eliminate an extra terabyte off your console. But I mean, to me, that just screams we want you to play less games.
That is kind of like the effect. Obviously, on their end, they're like, we're saving money. I'm sure they have the numbers or whatever, from their
Someone
point of
who went
view,
to
but
college for it figured it out before we did.
yeah, yeah, exactly. They're like, yeah, nobody's buying this, so we'll scale back.
Yeah, I know it's been theorized to death. Just the idea that everyone's trying to make it so you don't own your own hardware, and it just looks more and more factual every week now.
No,
Where we're just gonna have some device, and you're gonna be streaming games, and that's gonna be the only way to do it.
that does kind of seem to be where they're heading.
That's scary.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely, especially with like you don't own those games at any point. Like we've saw with Grand Theft Auto, they lost the license to music. So what is stopping a game that I'm playing today, if it's digital only, losing either the license to things and having to be taken off the store? What's stopping it from just like disappearing forever? Like there's nothing. We have the whole Save Games initiative, but what is stopping just a single player game now from disappearing in a decade? Not even like just live service spheres anymore. That could be single player games. That could be, you could have Devil May Cry 6 be digital only, and who knows, in 10-15 years just be gone, and you have 1 through 5 and maybe like 7 or 8 at that time, but you can never play 6. That is a very possible future, unfortunately.
I'm just listening.
You're
All
fine.
my talking points are
I was gonna say we didn't really have much to talk about this week.
mostly discussed. This is
There,
kind of a
there
yeah,
wasn't
we
a lot
didn't
to
have
talk
too
about this
much.
week. It was kind of depressing.
I
Um,
actually just had a news article pop up on my Twitter feed that I didn't know if you wanted me to bring up, but I remembered that this isn't live, so you can like cut out if you wanted to maybe like not
what is
talk
it?
about it yet. But about the PSN requirement, locking people out of having Rivals Tokon?
That was on my list
I
actually.
mean,
I
Marvel
wanted to.
Tokon?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I
yes,
keep anything Marvel is ruined to being called Rivals these days, and I'm
yeah, yeah. No. So speaking of PlayStation, on the other end, they also have more negative news because just like we saw with Helldivers 2, um, Marvel Token will not be available in I think 132 different countries. The
God,
reasoning
that's
being
terrible because it looks so good.
it does. The reason being because it requires PlayStation Network, so you will not be able to play it in countries without PlayStation Network, which is gonna be that's a huge miss.
That's
That's a
another thing that feeds
very big
into the
miss.
conversation of, like, being priced out of gaming.
Not even just like it feeds into the whole thing, not even just being priced out of gaming, but will you ever be able to play a game if it's digital? Like I used
Mhm,
to import games from Japan or whatever, like a month or two early, or maybe some games that
mhm.
never came out here. So I would import them, and
Like
obviously,
physical copies or
yeah,
digital?
no physical copies.
Mhm, mhm.
That's not. I mean, where digital's going, that's not going to be necessarily possible to do. Not in the same way.
It's definitely it hurts the developer as much as it hurts overall sales, and
Hmm.
it being a very heavily looked upon upcoming fighting game, that's going to hurt the fighting game community
Hmm.
because Tokon could have potentially saved the fighting game community. That community constantly needs saving,
Hmm.
but it's just so unfortunate that whatever these policies, I don't know if it's political or what have you, but which it probably is, which whatever, we play video games here. It's just very unfortunate that that hard requirement just really ruins something that major upcoming.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I mean, especially with fighting games specifically are so worldwide. People come from all over the world to different fighting game tournaments, and just not having 132 different countries be able to play Marvel Token is that's pretty rough. That's really bad. And I don't see Sony PlayStation. I don't see them changing their mind on how they're going about this. I think actually maybe they did for Helldivers, but I'm not
They
sure.
they the list got shrunk a lot when
Mm,
the Helldivers controversy came up,
mm-hmm.
but it's still, like you said, we still over 100 countries.
Yeah, yeah,
That's crazy.
yep. No, it absolutely is.
As evil as a lot of companies are, but hey, at least employees at Nintendo got raises.
I
That's
was gonna
pretty
say,
cool.
yeah. On the other end, the
On the
one
bright side.
the one positive news this week was Nintendo raised their employees 10%, salary because they want to keep the talent and make sure that they're not going anywhere else. Which is good. That's how you should be treating your employees. You should not be cutting them like this after mass hiring, especially when a lot of it comes down to studio mismanagement. Especially on the Xbox end, they're pushing these developers to make these games in certain ways. Um, I remember there was a video once that I watched about Dead Rising 3, and everything that game went through that they struggled with was Xbox. Literally, like pushing it. And Xbox doesn't even own it. They were like, they paid for the game, but it wasn't their studio, and yet they still had this mass amount of issues. And I think we see it with all their own studios, every single one of them. When they have when every single studio takes like 8 to 10 years to come out with a game, it's saying something, like
Mhm.
that's on their end. And unfortunately, developers are now getting punished, and they're laying off so many that we are going to unfortunately shortly find out about.
I mean, hey, devil's advocate about Nintendo though. What if everyone was already underpaid and that 10% is just bringing them to baseline?
Yeah,
Ooh.
the overworked.
But it's probably it's definitely a good thing across the board. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
even just like in gaming, like more companies just need to do that in general.
Hmm.
But hey, that's just the corporate greedy world we live in. But it's really cool to see
Mhm.
that a company actually wanted to retain talent rather than we're seeing this cold, brutal world where the gaming space, the gaming industry, which used to be a very favorable industry, is now people are scared to enter it, and for
Hmm.
good reason.
Yep.
It's not, you're not safe anymore, and It's so unfortunate with
There,
how oversaturated it can be sometimes.
now that you mention that, there was something I saw today that I don't know if you guys also saw, but Universal is trying to get into the gaming market.
What?
Yeah, it was. I think it was today was breaking news. Um, yeah, they want to get into the gaming market. Obviously, that doesn't mean they're using their IPs. You know, who knows if they're buying studios or how they're going about it. All it was basically saying that that is their plan is to go into gaming.
Not surprising. Other
Yeah,
Paramount did it.
yeah, no, absolutely,
Netflix did it.
absolutely.
Blumhouse did it.
Um, I think obviously Universal has had a lot of games they've licensed out to others, you know, to use their IPs. But they have a lot. They have a lot they're sitting on. Especially with like, you know, Shrek being big again or whatever. There was a lot of Shrek games that people are very favorable of. So who knows what this could look like for them. I'm excited.
There was a Shrek Smash game.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, was
No,
it
what was
Super
it? What
Slam?
was it?
Super Slam? Was that
Yeah,
correct?
probably like that. Like trumpet
Um,
dashing was a thing, and it was weird.
there was like a Power Stone one. I think that was Super Slam. It
Yeah,
was like,
that could have been it.
yeah, yeah. But that was really good. That was really good. But yeah, Universal has a lot they're sitting on, and
Hmm.
this could be a mistake. You know, we've seen a lot of companies jump in and they completely ruin studios, but
WB.
it could be fun. Yeah, yeah. Well, they had these studios for a while. I'm talking more
Yeah,
like these companies that are like, we're gonna come in like big, like Amazon, and they buy like several studios and then they shut them all down in a year. So there's that, you know, negative possibility too. But
They come
um,
in to swoop in and be the hero and end up like being in way over their heads.
yeah, yeah, that's yeah, that seems to be the case
Mhm.
with a lot of these studios. They're like, we're gonna get into gaming. We see the, you know, potential there. It ends up backfiring big time.
First thing, and before the first thing they make is an Among Us clone.
Oh my god, if that happens, I'm literally giving you like a $5 Steam gift card.
Whoa,
I will accept
whoa.
that. Ooh, we got big rollers in here tonight.
Let's go to something more closer to home because this kind of was a little controversial this week. Marvel Rivals, big Gooner game. um, we see a lot of revealing clothing for characters, and it's been controversial, you know, very sexualizing the women. You may occasionally get a guy without a shirt or whatever, but the new Captain America summer skin came out, and
It's been nerfed.
people, yeah, and very noticeably, you could see his bulge, and a lot of people had issues with that, saying it was going too far for a character. I don't see why that's too far, and you know
When
the
we
other
have
skins
Emma
aren't.
Frost released base skin.
Yeah, a lot of their skins, you know. Obviously they got the Gooner title, but I don't. I really just I don't see a difference. I don't see a difference. I don't care, you know.
Yeah,
Like people were overreacting, so they corrected it. They shrunk his dick.
it's still
But
huge.
yeah, yeah, no, it is. It is absolutely. But
I don't think the problem was with as much of a size because we already got a bunch
It
of
was
bulge
clipping
characters.
through.
yeah,
It was very it had jiggle physics, and I think
yeah.
that's where some
It
people
was
were drawing
pointing
the
at
line.
me.
It was looking at me funny, and it was trying to seduce me. And I don't know, man. It was a weird night.
I just
It was like
I don't know.
Borat
I
all over
can't
again.
see it being an issue when we have some of these other skins in the game, and I don't understand why people
Yeah, of
reacted the way they did.
course.
So
Like Black Widow, for example, who got released at like the same time. The entire side of her bathing suit on both sides is just slit open.
yeah, or we saw with like Black Cat, they in one of her newer skins she made, they made their or her ass bigger, and it's like why is that okay? And
They've done that
then
with a bunch of characters. There's a few
In the
no, they
Black
studios
have,
Cat
I
that
know
did
they
Meow
have.
that.
skin, her whole like, yeah, she's exposed.
Yeah, I you know I don't see why one is an issue and the other isn't. Either you're gonna complain about both of them, or just you know play the game. Who cares? You should not be afraid of penises ever in life.
I mean, there's a lot of insecure people or people that fall on one side of a political spectrum and the other that have issue with anything that could be contradictory to things that they find appealing. And it's unfortunate because it's at the end of the day, it's just a drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
it's
a
in
little
the
more
middle
than
And
a
a
drawing.
lot of the
game.
time it's comic book accurate too. Like it's not like they're just making it up.
Are you saying Cap is like hung in the comics?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what issue that is? We need to
Yeah, yeah.
figure it
Can you explain
Let
out.
me
where you're
consult
getting this?
my series. I have a lot of Captain America comics actually. I used to go to the flea market a lot with my dad, and my best friend's father ran one of the comic book booths. So
Ooh,
we'd get a lot of discount comics. So my entire collection is from there.
nice.
Most of them are Captain America. And plus
Wow.
I buy the Rivals comics as well now. And the
Wow.
It's Jeff ones. And I'm about to get into Spider-Gwen. Not Spider-Gwen, I'm sorry, Gwenpool, because today I found out that it's basically like a superhero isekai.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is, yeah.
So I was like, holy shit, that sounds actually really interesting. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna read that.
I was thinking that she just had a crossover with Marvel Rivals, but no, she had a crossover with the MCU, and it was like a big controversial thing.
Why?
Because it was supposed to be canon to the MCU, and in it they show Scarlet Witch's like frozen body, and then Marvel had to come
Mm-hmm.
out afterwards and be like, "No, it's no longer canon. We changed our mind."
What?
Because Scarlet Witch stuff, and they're afraid to say she's alive. So
I watched a video today called "Are They a Mutant?" and it went through every single like hero about if they're actually a mutant or not. And Spider-Gwen, oh my god, I keep doing that. Gwenpool, is technically a mutant because she wrote herself to be in her universe that she has been sent into. Because nobody can prove that she's not. Because yeah,
where did they put Deadpool on that?
not a mutant
Interesting, because
because he
there,
didn't have the X gene.
but that changed in the last like 10 years.
Oh my god, I should send you this video. I liked it a lot,
Yeah.
actually. I should
No,
send
no,
it
you
to you.
should. You should. Yeah, no, they're in the Krakoa era, which wasn't
Let
that
me go
long
on
ago.
YouTube.
Within the last 10 years, Deadpool dies, like officially. And if you don't know, in Krakoa, they can bring people back to life. When they brought Deadpool back to life, he had the X gene.
Interesting.
So technically he is a mutant.
Um,
And he was a mutant in the movies too. So I assume that's why that happened was synergy. And they're just pushing him as a mutant. But before that he was not for the first 30 years of his run. Um and that's more recent thing. So I remember when Deadpool was coming out for Marvel Rivals, I had to like post that like comic like 30 times because people were like, he's not a mutant, stop calling him a mutant. I'm like, but he literally is now. Like, calm down. Um and he was in the movie, like I
calm
said.
down.
Yeah, people get like really defensive when they don't like something that is either true or like something about their favorite hero or whatever. Um
Yeah.
and like yeah. Or they just like want to be what they want to know more than you kind of thing, so they're like actually I think that's really kind of annoying. What else do we have to talk about? We just kind of went off on a tangent there. It's not going to be a long episode. That's fine.
That's fine. Like
It's a good entrance.
we're already behind.
Yeah,
We're already
yeah.
behind.
No,
I
it's
mean,
it.
Bungie's doing more layoffs, which that was the writing was on the walls forever. Sony's evil and messed up, and Bungie messed up.
I was gonna say, is that
We got
more
the
on
Sony
is that
layoffs.
more on Sony and PlayStation, or is that more on Bungie?
I mean, it's probably on both. A little
Yeah.
bit of column A, a little bit of column
Both
B,
of them.
because it's I don't know, man. It's the whole everything with Marathon shit show, shutting down Destiny shit show, new project, but everyone's being taken off of it because they're getting fired and CEO needs to buy another car,
Yeah. Yeah.
which that sucks. It's like why can't more companies take the Nintendo approach and have a CEO take a pay cut to save people? Oh, because
Ye-
then he can't buy as many damn
fun
cars.
gaming fact: when Sega was dying, the CEO at the time or whatever, I think it was CEO, completely cut his paycheck like for the whole year, to make sure that Sega itself could stay alive. Because if not, they were going to go under as a company. So he completely cut his own pay to save the company. and Sega's
Those
obviously still around now
Japanese
and doing
guys,
great. Yeah, no, crazy,
they
crazy.
got honor, because Iwata was saying it would be a failure on him
Hmm.
if he had to let people go. So that's
No,
like,
absolutely
come on, man.
different. Yeah.
It's honor, but I mean, obviously that's long gone today.
Hmm. No, for sure. Yeah, actually, that's like such a crazy story. With what happened with Sega, was it like the Saturn or was it? I think it was the Saturn that they that went up against the PlayStation One. It wasn't the Dreamcast. It was after. I think it was the Saturn. Um,
The Dreamcast was like closer to GameCube era, wasn't it? Or am I misremembering everything?
mm,
I just remember because Sonic Adventure 2 went to both
I want to
things.
say Saturn came after Dreamcast because that was when they had a pissing contest with PlayStation. It was the whole 199 thing where they went on
I
stage.
thought Saturn was a PS1 and then Dreamcast
May
was
have
after.
been.
Because Dreamcast was also supposed to be the last leg of the
That could be.
replacement to arcades.
Um, that could be. Saturn was a huge failure though, and the main reasoning is because Sega, to beat PlayStation, decided they were going to uh what's the term? Just shadow drop. They decided they were going to shadow drop the Sega Saturn. An entire console. Nobody knew it was coming out, and they dropped their console without telling anybody. And by not telling anybody, I mean retailers had a week to plan for it. And on the other end, not telling anybody, they didn't tell developers that they were dropping a console. So the Sega Saturn had 0 games
Sega does
on
when
store
Nintendo
shelves.
don't.
What's your favorite game on the Sega Saturn?
Yeah. They kept it that much of a secret. They did not tell developers that they were dropping the console. So I think it was like 2 or 3 months later when games finally were like being pushed for it. Um, very crazy story. Not sure why that was the case, but that's that's what they chose. And looking at it, it's kind of like, wow, I sure wonder why Sega is no longer in the console game because they make decisions like that. But it is what it is. I don't know what else to talk about.
Um,
Are we done?
we can make dog on Tim Sweeney being out
I
of
feel like
touch.
you bring that up every episode. You're like, I
Yeah,
hate Tim
yeah, but who
Sweeney.
I
likes Tim
mean,
Sweeney?
well, it's just because something keeps coming up every week. He just says something stupid.
He does. He
And
does.
this past week, he was talking about just more hate about how much he hates Gabe, because he hates Gabe so much, and is talking about how because on Steam, not Epic, Epic refuses to do this for some weird reason. I wonder
Hmm.
why. But on Steam, if a game has AI stuff in it, it's supposed to be marked that includes AI elements.
Hmm.
And Tim Sweeney is calling that a scarlet letter because of the very negative viewing of generative AI today,
Hmm.
and how just anything with AI is just immediately hated. So referring to that as a scarlet letter of that now people are going to avoid this product because it has AI, well,
Yeah.
that should
Yeah.
be a good thing. It should be a signal to developers to change the approach. But if a product's good enough, then the product it'll carry itself through anyway. So to just save something like that is out of touch, and it's also just saying that your moral ground is just non-existent, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if AI, is a big part of a game or whatever, I avoid it. There was the game there's some digging game or something on Steam, and it was one of those dumb, like, like $3 or $4 games. I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this could be, fun for an afternoon, kind of turn my brain off while I listen to music and just, do whatever. And then I saw all the art in it was AI, and I was like, well, this completely, turns me off from the game. I'll go find something else. And that is kind of where I'm standing. I'm gonna stand by that. If your game has AI or uses AI a lot like that, Gen AI, Gen AI, um, then yeah, I'll avoid it. There's other games to like. There's so many games out there that I can go
Yeah,
and
and
find.
that's also another problem with the game industry is there's too
Yeah,
many games. But
yeah, no, there really is.
clearly, hey, you sound like someone who probably shouldn't use the Epic Game Store.
I don't. I deleted it. I quit Fortnite probably a year ago. Due to their push in AI, it's getting worse. Their price is going up. I have a lot of negative things to say about Fortnite and where it is right now. The state of Fortnite. Um, but yeah, no, I won't support them. I've completely deleted the Epic Games Store, which I used to actually prefer it. I like the free games that we get. And unfortunately, the way Epic is going as a company, I do not want to support them, and I will not support them. Obviously, games use Unreal, engine. I can't really avoid that too much, but anywhere else I can avoid them, I will, and that is going to be the case going forward. A lot of people have asked me to get back into Fortnite. A lot of people asked me to stream Fortnite, and no, I'm gonna put my foot down on it.
I'm actually really proud of you for that.
Thank
Wow.
you, thank you.
Well, I'm serious because like I'm sure you turned down a lot of things that you
hmm
could be doing.
absolutely.
But you're standing your ground on that. That's impressive. That's awesome.
hmm Yeah, there's other games to
I
play.
personally still play Fortnite,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No, it's okay.
But
No judgment. No judgment. That is, I'm
yeah.
not trying to take the moral high ground on it. That is just where I am standing because I do believe
Mhm.
AI used as it is using up a lot of resources and causing a lot of problems. So I
Mhm.
will not support it. I will, obviously that is my choice. Not judging anyone else for wherever which way they, may take things or do or whatever. But I am completely avoiding AI as much as I can.
It's cool to see that the big RAM manufacturers, Samsung, Micron, SK Hynix, are getting sued now over anti-consumer pricing
hmm
that they're creating in the world because of all this AI stuff. So it's
hmm
good to see that. It took a little bit. I mean, but obviously this kind of thing can't be rushed. That there is we're seeing the pushback,
hmm
and that's what we really need. So Steam doing it right by marking things that are using AI, Epic not, and quit probably taking a payout in some way over it. But
hmm
as we're seeing pushback, and that's more positive and negative. So I guess it's a good note.
No, absolutely. There is some like when Epic announced Unreal Engine 6 and they kind of went over it. There is some weird stuff in it about obviously characters you create you can put in Fortnite. So it seems like they're kind of going more like a playground kind of sense, but like what is stopping you from AI generating whatever and just stuffing, Fortnite with that in the store? Or, who owns the right to that character at that point? Does Epic own those characters that are going to Fortnite? Do they not? Can you take them out at any time? How does that kind of work? Then I think they also said you could take the Fortnite characters and put them in your game. So how does that work? Is Epic getting a portion of game sales, or like what is how does this work at all? Like as as a business? Um like
Probably in the EULA.
am
It
I able to
probably is
take like
actually.
am I able to take like Supergirl from, a from Fortnite or whatever and put it in like some Marvel game if I got the Marvel license? Like where are the lines drawn on Unreal Engine 6? How does this all work? I just, I don't see how this is a business or whatever.
Yeah. I get it. I understand. I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
They're lying. They're trying to steal all your AI characters. That's what Epic wants. Epic wants to buy, or not to buy, they want to steal all your AI characters. Every AI character you create, it's going in their bank. Don't
Your
trust Unreal
OC,
Engine
please do
6.
not steal, is gonna get
Yeah.
stolen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's everything I had.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it,
Yeah.
I think, especially when I cut it down, I think this will be a shorter episode, which isn't bad. I think, that'll maybe give people, I think the 2 hours was nice, but I think that maybe could turn off a bunch of people, and maybe a shorter, 30, 45-minute episode will be like, okay, like, I can sit down for that. So I don't
I
think
Yeah.
did
that's
have a
necessarily
friend.
bad.
I did have a friend complain to me about the runtime, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, man, it was just the nature of that particular thing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
only gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
The
going
only
to say. Anyways, yeah, I think that's kind of all that we have to talk about. There wasn't a lot of news this week. Most of it was negative. Most of it was depressing. A couple of little shiny, things in the middle there. But that will be it for episode 2 of GameYAP. We will be back again next week. We will find out, what's going on with Xbox. I think the announcement should be this week, and who knows what else we're, kind of in store for over the next couple days. But it was fun talking as always. I'm Betrigan, and you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere. Literally anywhere.
I'm Cerventes. I'm on Twitch at Cerventes, at Twitter on King Cerventes, and That's pretty much it. TikTok, I guess. I don't know. YouTube,
Everything.
Cerventes underscore. All right, just look. I'm easy to find.
He's places. You'll
Yeah.
find him. And I'm the Kirby Party on Twitter and Twitch. That's about it for me, though.
Yes, good stuff. I'm gonna get a little animated Kirby for you to like dance on the screen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find one.
Sorry.
Maybe I'll have it like change throughout the podcast. All right. Well, yeah, that was good. That was fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
a
think
little
we'll be
somber
shorter.
episode, but it's
It's
better.
fine. Yeah. Hopefully there's some actual news this week. We could always talk about next week, Marvel Rivals Season 9 and stuff like that, because at least that'll be coming on that end. So I'm sure we'll have some stuff.